Our next speaker is Mr. Brockhouse. Mr. Brockhouse is known for speaking up on behalf of taxpayers.
My main goal today was to come here and talk a little bit about what's going on at City Hall and just being prepared more than anything. And then take a few questions about what's happening or issues you're seeing down there, and I'll just give you my kind of frank assessment of where the city's at and what we're looking at. We're coming into a very big next 60 to 90 days as we embark on a new budget cycle for the next fiscal year, and that includes everything from your tax rates to your property tax plan to our budget surpluses to fees, you name it, police officers, firefighters, contract negotiations with the union, the fire union. We got a ton of stuff on the table, and a city that's kind of really trying to figure out who and what it's going to be over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I would just tell you, I've been around City Hall probably a better part of a dozen years, and in and around that I've done issue advocacy, things like running the anti-streetcar campaign, all the way to running all the way to running elections, having people get elected and unelected, and then of course working down at City Hall as a chief of staff, as a constituent services manager. I've kind of run the whole gamut of things at City Hall. But now being elected, I get to kind of, for lack of a better word there, be on the inside, seeing what exactly is happening, how the sausage is made and the muck that is, and the bubble that has become San Antonio City Hall. So I would tell you, over the last year, I've probably never seen any worse environment downtown when it comes to city governance. And I could probably tell you this is frankly the worst council I've seen for multiple reasons, probably the last 25 years. The reason I say that with conviction that I believe is probably the worst city council is we don't listen to the people as a whole. We just don't. Those days of understanding what the residents are and what they want are long gone. I'll give you an example. I sat in a budget session just this past week, and we were talking about property taxes. Myself and Councilman Perry were advocating for reduction in the property taxes, right, and to offer a homestead exemption. The gentleman talked about a homestead exemption. I'll give you a sterling example of San Antonio, Texas. We offer a $12,500 exception for disabled persons. We're the lowest in the state of Texas, major municipalities, right? We are holding the line on a lot of things that allow us, the city, right? We're controlling a lot of things in and out that are pulling little dollars here and here and here from your pocketbook, right? So I said, you know what, let's lower the tax rate, obviously. We actually voted on it last year. When we first got elected, our first budget vote, Councilman Perry and I made a motion. We tend to help each other out like this, but we attempted to roll back the tax rate. Of course, we went down 9-2 and lost on the vote. We then attempted to do a homestead exemption. Again, we lost on that as well. But we keep coming back. And my thought is, right, I'm sitting with this group of people, and I said, you know what, let's offer a homestead exemption. We're looking anywhere from, you can do it by dollars or by percentage. It's a choice option there. And I said, look, let's attempt to give some level of money back to the taxpayer, right? And so the big wigs get up there, Cheryl Scully's tools get up there, right? Her voices, her people get up and start talking, and like, look, if we do this homestead exemption, the citizen will get back $8 a month. That makes absolutely no sense. And if we give them back their money, we got to get rid of 36 firefighters, 38 police officers. We have to cut down 50% of the library service, and they start to list 15 things that are going to do what to the public? Scare them, right? Going to scare. It's a scare tactic. So they finish it, and I asked a real easy question. I just said, hey, if you're not willing to give back $8 a month, what are you willing to give back? Because they said $8 is a ridiculous amount of money. We shouldn't give that back because it's going to destroy the infrastructure of the city if we do that. What if it's not 8? What number are you willing to give back to the city? Guess what that answer is? It's a big 0. It's a 0. They don't want to give you back a dime. They don't want to do it. Now, it's not for a lot. Look, they're very clear what their priorities are, in case you haven't noticed. So when I say it's probably the worst council in at least the last 25 years, it's because those values, right, those issues, the things we're working, I sat there, Councilman Perry and I, we went on for an hour about this does not reflect what the citizens of San Antonio want. That's what's wrong with the bubble we live in. We're elected by 11% of the city. 11%. Me too, me included. I'm elected by 11% of the voters in District 6. 60-something hundred people put me in office. So guess what Greg does? I go out and I knock doors and I ask questions about what every resident wants, and I said, look, and they're telling me, they're screaming for property tax relief. We brought in the chief appraiser on Mesquite. All respect to the staff here, it was an embarrassing presentation. The man talked more about his wealth and where he lived and the amount of properties he had than he did about the properties that matter to us as citizens. Ours, our homes, our bills that are increasing 10, 15, 20% valuations. It's a tough life to live in. There's several of us on the council that feel that we need to revamp completely the property appraisal system to include all the way up to the top, which is the chief appraiser on Mesquite. We have to complete. That is a statewide issue, though. But there's no fairness and equity in any of those operations. There's not. So we have a big fight on that. But the city controls, the part the city controls of it is the rates. So we can roll back those rates to help out. But even in the debate on a property tax exemption, you know what they told me? Well, it's only 22% of the total tax bill. It's irrelevant. It should be the school districts. We got to fix school finance. That's where they get you, right? They tell you got to fix school finance to fix your property tax. No. Right? There is a broken taxation system in the state of Texas. Do not get me wrong. And our school districts do suffer. But the bottom line is it's the municipalities with the differing lack of priorities now that don't match you, the citizens. I.e. $15 million bridges over Wurzbach Parkway. When I can't get a bridge or a crossway for children around every school in the city of San Antonio. We have children that walk through mud streets to get to school in the morning, but we're going to allow deer to cross over Wurzbach Parkway safely because it's Phil Hardberger's pet project. Right? That's the bottom line. Again, we come in, it's a lack of priorities. We call them, I'm not joking you, we have about 12 different task forces now working in the city of San Antonio. We have a task force on climate change. Guess how many people sit on that task force? 86. 86 people. We have the Mayor's Housing Policy Task Force, over 40 people. We have the Mayor's Airport Task Force, 20-something people. We have abdicated our responsibility and leadership at City Hall, and these folks, by the way, are led by all sorts of community insiders, and political insiders, friends of the mayor. The mayor formed a committee, a task force on campaign finance, and appointed Mike Belden to it, his personal financial benefactor, who's one of the largest donors in the history of the city of San Antonio. He's always the campaign chair for different organizations, for different mayoral candidates, Phil Hardberger, Julian Castro, you name them, Mike Belden, right? So what we are is we're in a period of time where you have to be engaged, and this is what I'm going to call on you for, then I'll take questions. You have to be engaged on every issue every day at City Hall. Because every day they're coming at you one way, shape, form, or another for your dollar. And here's how they're doing it. They're doing it through departments you wouldn't ordinarily think it would be happening from. Take, for instance, Metro Health. Who would think anything would come out of Metro Health that would affect business or people or dollars at City Hall? Metro Health came out, and I'll give you a good example, raised the age of tobacco to 21 years old in the city of San Antonio. All right, it took up about 3 to 5% of the profit margin away from convenience store owners. They came in and they're going to try to now pass, potentially they're looking at banning sugary sodas. Right? They're coming in, and guess what happens when they come in and they start to ban or limit the sale of sugar? Guess what happens to the cost of the sodas? They go up. Right? The climate task force is coming in. There's an ozone issue. What happens with an ozone issue? Well, now we got to talk air quality. There's air quality issue with people with asthma. Well, we better start making sure we have idling ordinances in place. We better make sure that here come all these items where we're affecting air quality. Guess where that comes into the bottom line? Oops, CPS Energy needs to kill coal plants. CPS Energy needs to get rid of nuclear. CPS Energy needs to go completely solar. Then what happens to your CPS Energy bill? Starts to tick up. The mayor wants to go carbon neutral within the next 10 years. Guess what that cost is to you as people who drive around in vehicles? Your cost starts to tick up. Water, the Vista Ridge water pipeline. Guess what happens when we start to buy in and bring in large volumes of water outside of our own community? Prices start to go up. We passed that in SAWS last time. We have 12.5% rate increases. Your SAWS rates are going to increase another 40% over the next 5 years. I voted against the SAWS rate increase. Myself as council. CPS Energy informed us yesterday they will not be seeking any rate increases this year, so that's a good thing. And then, I think, which was a huge win, Robert Puente gave back his $100,000 bonus on the heels of what? He gave it back on the heels of City Council speaking up. And guess who was the only people speaking up? Greg and Clayton. And we made enough to stink about it. The man gave back the money because he didn't want it to be a hassle. But we don't need public sector employees getting $100,000 bonuses. Paula Gold Williams, 296. Cheryl Scully, 75. All of which I voted against. So we have to be thinking about these things. And when you gauge every issue, that means you need to be looking at what happens at a B session. You need to be following the agendas because they're coming at you from the Community Health and Equity Subcommittee. They're coming at you from Metro Health. All the legislation from the mayor is bubbling up through smaller departments that create this progressive social change agenda. And that's where it's at. The money is now going towards this social re-engineering of our society. And it becomes a priority game. My priorities are different than the other 10 on council. I align closely, sure, with Councilman Perry, but we differ on things too. And sometimes I take a tough vote because I feel it's right, and I'll own my votes every day of the week. But the bottom line is we're rising up this social re-engineering process. And it could be anything you think. It's across it's releasing undocumented persons without verification of their status, or you can go right down the line. We're in immigration. We're suing the state of Texas on that. We're fighting over here on climate change. We're trying to stay away from the EPA. We're coming after Governor Abbott. We're going after firefighters, by the way, and I just put out a video today. To date, we've spent $1.2 million suing our firefighters. $1.2 million. Your taxpayer money. And the new legal team, you're going to freak at this one, costs $3,000 an hour to litigate the case. That's how much the new legal team that's suing the firefighters at the Texas Supreme Court can bill us up to $3,010 an hour. One gentleman, the lead counsel, is a guy named Wallace Jefferson, the Republican Chief Justice, former Chief Justice of the Texas Supreme Court. He charges $900 an hour.
When are we going to vote so that the firefighters in the city will be here?
We're gonna get there. So the firefighters have started some petitions, and I've been frank. I'm supportive of my friends at the fire union, just as I was in my friends at the police union. They're no better group of people in our city. They work hard for us. They put it online every day, and I'm highly supportive of them. Do I have concerns about things? Sure. But I talked to Chris, and I understand what's happening and what we're looking to do, but those petitions are coming out. I tell you the one I'm most excited about, and it kind of takes people off. Look, Captain Cheryl Scully's salary, city manager's salaries, I think we should have a maximum amount of money on it. It just depends what that maximum looks like, right? The city won't even tell us. They won't even tell us what that looks like. I can't even get a straight answer on the dollar. But we should have arbitration opportunities for our police officers that they can take a petition and go to a public vote. And by the way, it's okay to say 20,000 signatures allows you to hold City Hall accountable. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'll leave you with two more final thoughts. If you say that, right, because right now it's 78,000 signatures in 45 days. It's an impossible goal. It's never happened. But got close with PGA. But it's really never occurred. The problem is, if we do the right things, we pass the right laws and ordinances, and we listen to the people, we should never get overridden. The citizens shouldn't have to petition their form of government to get it done. But when we do things like $15 million bridges for deer, when we pass certain fees that fly in the face of fiscal responsibility and leadership in city, when we're not representing the people, why not say, fine, go out and get your signatures, and guess what? At the end of the day, who still decides? The people. So don't fall prey to what the Express News and other organizations in the media are saying about the firefighters. No matter what, it's not the firefighters deciding the end game here. Who is deciding it? The voter. The fact they got petitions is not a bad thing. It's totally under the Texas Constitution. The scary part is for the people at City Hall is they have to be held accountable. There's a tool to say, right, a reasonable tool to say, I think you're wrong, and I'm going to go get my friends to join me, and then we're going to do what? Even if you did a petition to try to undo a SAWS rate increase, right? Guess where it still has to go? It's just go on the ballot, voted on by the people, which is the bedrock of our entire democracy. Choice and decision by the leadership of our elected officials, but more importantly, by the choices of our citizenry. They make the final call on it. And there's nothing I have no fear of going before a voter to stand on something I voted on. And if I get upended, I get upended. Lesson learned. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't run scared from the voters' ability to make a decision and hold us accountable. So I'll take a couple questions. I know we want to get on. Chris got talked to, but I'm thankful to be here. Look, I'm a bit of a maverick at City Hall. I'll pick an issue and I'll go back and forth. And I'll choose the right thing because I look at good people and good policy. I always come at it from a standpoint of what would my voter want, what would my resident want me to do, and how can I keep more money in their pockets. And if I can do that, I feel like I'm going to be fine and I can hold my head up high when it's all said and done at City Hall. I'll be okay. So,
We need more of you.
we got a question. Stan?
Our coalition, San Antonio Making Bureaucracies Accountable, has been sending to the city council and the mayor regular issues, now at revelation number 23, describing a pervasive theme throughout our government. That is corruption. Not only are we alleging this corruption, but we're documenting it. My question to our Representative Brockhouse is, does that make hill of beans difference to the city government? Do they look at them? Do they talk about it? Are they concerned? Are they offended? Do they have any response at all? I haven't seen it.
I'll be, I love the work you do. I've worked with you, Stan, and I know you're diligent in what you're doing. And you and the team and George, everybody. I hate to say this, but the city council doesn't listen. We're not discussing it. It may be at a staff level, somebody may be reading it, a staff member, but unfortunately it hasn't been discussed. It's just not. Now, I think what happens is the city is notorious for categorizing people who oppose them or say something that is opposite of what they believe or it's against what they believe to be what's right for the city. Again, back to that, they live in a bubble, right? We live in a bubble at City Hall. We think we have all the answers, and in truth, we're the outlier, right? We are the outlier. So what has to happen is, and that's why look, what the firefighters are doing is a very intriguing proposition, right? Because what it is it's allowing somebody to bring a voice down to City Hall, and the way you do it is we were successful in the streetcar because we did it in the media, we did it politically with the right arguments, we had the right facts and figures, and we kept on, we're relentless, shining a light on the things that are corrupt at City Hall. And the corruption usually starts because it happens in dark corners and executive sessions and decisions are made where nobody can hold people accountable. The minute, and I've learned this in City, the minute you start asking questions, and you pull a string on something at City Hall and you're relentless about it is when the breakdown occurs. Because usually from that point on, people don't get it, right? Once you start challenging them, if you've noticed, the city always turns what? They get very negative against you. They start withholding information. The media starts attacking you. And it's a very set routine. So what I would tell you is don't ever be discouraged. There are people that read your work and understand we ask the questions. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't care about it. And it can die in certain levels. So what I would like to follow up with you afterwards, Stan, we can have another conversation, is how you work within the system to rise up that through the media and through better marketing and selling of your strategy, because really, that's what it has to be. I mean, the only reason we got successful in streetcars is we took it to town, we didn't stop it, we got in front of the camera, and we forced the answers, right? And they would work and work and work, but it also takes money, it takes resources, time, manpower, and the system is built to discourage you from being successful or to engage your government in local politics here in San Antonio. And that's what we have to change, and that's why the firefighter petitions are striking right at the heart of where City Council feels about it. Ron Nirenberg is more scared now than he's ever been in his elected office time period. If you notice, he's attacking firefighters even more, shaming them, humiliating them, calling them out. Chris personally attacking people. As if he sits in an ivory tower up at City Hall. It's wrong. It's dead wrong, and we got to do something about it.
Well, thank you, Councilman Brockhouse. We appreciate the work you do over City Council. Let me say this, wherever the progressive socialists take over, the majority, who gets hurt? It's the middle class. If you don't believe me, look at LA, look at San Francisco, look at Detroit, look at Baltimore. They just leave the rich and the very poor. It's even starting to occur now in Austin and that the property values have gotten so high, people can no longer afford a house, regular working folks, blue collar type, and those that aren't at the top of the corporate pyramid.